that Sudarshan Senivaratna, who passed away last week, who had developed some brilliant insights about, from the study of the megalithic monuments in South India and Sri Lanka, went into the track about the Bahirathy. It was he and others who accepted his findings. They identified the Bharata as Bharata. Sudarshan Senivaratna says that the Bharata are people who had migrated from South India and they were of the Meghali culture. But he says that the Bharata are also the same as Bharata. Now studies, if the Bharata were Bharata, the whole island should have been developed as the country of the Tamil-speaking people. Bharata was not Bharatas. My studies of the inscription and archaeological finds shows that they were people who had nothing to do with the early Iron Age culture. None of the symbols appearing in the monuments of that culture are found in the inscriptions about Bharata. And they did not have, at any time, the titles or attributes of kingship like, say, Raja, Gamini, Bird and Iron. So the last two are derived from Tamil, coming from the Nagas. The second group, the Nagas, whom Panellists has described as semi-human beings, a category of people, as all of you know, do not exist in Eastern. So they went among the Ganas, about 90% people who had the name Naga. So, what are they? Now, there is a report which I read 2 days back in a newspaper on the basis of a study done in Western India, that the Sinhalese and Tamils are the closest people among the peoples of Southern Asia. Some of you may be surprised to hear. And here also, those who have done research, archaeological research, foreigners, some of them Americans, have found that genetically the remains, the skeletal remains found are close to those of the Sinhalese. Now the position of archaeology is that the Sinhalese and the ancestors of the descent of the Sinhalese and Tamils could be traced from an intermixture of the Bada and the Naga. To clarify a little bit further, the Bada are the descendants of the people of the Mesolithic culture, identified in the Mahavamsa as the Jaffna. They were a nomadic people. They were not a sedentary community. They were not producing. Then the Naga, according to Siran Peradeniya, were the people of the early Iron Age culture who introduced the mode of production in this country, and this was common to a larger region, to South India and Sri Lanka during those times, and it has become a legacy and part of our heritage. That is, all the people. Muslims also have their origins not in Arabia, as they say. Only the Maulana family could trace their descent from the Arab settlers, others are local converts and who have come from South India in medieval times. So then we come to distortions and misrepresentations. This is about the Sinhalese and Tamil as found in the medieval and early modern periods, in the Portuguese colonies and Dutch records, and early British official records, and in the chronicles of British travellers and others who were serving in the armies that conquered the country. What do they say? Now, Governor Schroeder says that this country has been, the island of Ceylon, this is now, has been occupied by two nations, the Malabars and the Sinhalese. The Malabars, at that time, the eastern parts of the island were not ceded to the Dutch. So the Dutch were established in the northern part, the commandment of Dutch. So he says that they spoke the Tamil language and it was occupied by the Malabars, including Calcutta and Puthanam districts, coastal areas. Not put districts as such, the coastal littoral parts of those areas. And then he says, the rest of the country was occupied by the Sinhalese. That means the Canadian provinces and the northern and southern parts, the major part of the country. Same thing is repeated by the predicants who served in Jaffna. Walde stays the same and more emphatic. And this was earlier said by the Governor General, the first Governor General, Dutch Governor General, Van Moons. In 1796, when the British occupied the littoral parts of the island from the Dutch, they asked Dr. Claiborne, who had obtained a PhD from the University of Amsterdam and was a Director General of the Dutch Archives in Colombo, to supply a report for the political and judicial organization of the Dutch government in Ceylon. So he gave us a small report, and in that report he says, the island was occupied by two nations. That is his word. The Sinhalese and the Malabars. The Malabars in the northern and eastern districts of the island. At the time, eastern districts were under the Dutch. And the Sinhalese in the hill country and in the southern and western parts of the island. Then the British writers, Henry Marshall, Jules Cordina, Whitby, the same thing, they had traveled to these places. And the census reports also the same thing. Professor K.M.D. Silva wrote a thesis on social policy and missionary organizations at the London University, was produced an excellent thesis, and for which he was given a Commonwealth Award later. In that he says, the island was divided into two linguistic zones by the Wesleyians for administrative convenience, and that the Anglicans also adopted the same position. This is what he has said You can check from his book. But I am a bit reluctant to speak about him. He was my teacher, and as a student I had admiration. And he was an excellent teacher in English. I don't know what the English students any thought felt about him, but I have not heard of similar sentiments from them. But the problem about him was that he was very close to the Jaffna government. In the Labour Party in Britain, when the Labour government in power, we have a group of MPs, radicals, who are revolting against the leadership. Because they think that they are the custodians of the ideology of the Labour Party, and the Prime Minister is making compromises. But here we don't have that tradition. Unfortunately, except a few exceptions, now Leslie Muñoz. Leslie Muñoz was in the early days a member of the Communist Party. He was also a teacher for me for 3 months before he went to do his PhD. Later he was a colleague and a very friendly colleague. He was one of those who was completely free from any ethnic bias or any bias in writing history. Now he died, unfortunately. He should have lived long. Then another person who was not in the universities is Osman Bopearaj. He is, I think, the most brilliant Sri Lankan archaeologist, and he had earned an international reputation rather early in life, and he is a professor in one of the universities in France, not just the Sorbonne, but another university in Paris, and he is an authority on numismatics, and I find that in his writing there is transparency. There is no ethnic partiality. Another person is my colleague C.R.D. Silva, who had to leave the island because there was a threat to his life from the insurgent groups there. He was working as a dean. He was very popular, and he was very decent in his way. Some or other, because of his caliber, he was appointed to a chair in one of the American universities. Unfortunately, Professor K.P. Silva, who could have easily afforded to retain that position, and could have occupied a leading position in that category, some or other declined because of his close association with the head of the UNP government. That is I will with. And so he was commissioned to write on the ethnic problem by H.W. Jaffna, who was present at the trial at bar under the UF government, in which the leader of one of the 3-4 members of the Federal Party were being tried for treachery, for burning the constitution that was prepared in 1972, copies of the constitution. The UNP burned the copies of the constitution prepared by Shanti, but no action was taken. Now, he wrote a book on the homelands of the Tamils to deny or to that the Tamils have a historic connection with the northern and eastern provinces. And ironically, I must say, the Sinhalese political leadership in the early 20th century, including the late S.W.R.D. Bandaranaike and Dr. Moramura among the Kandians, they have accepted that the Tamils has developed like the Sinhalese as a nationality in the island. And they were the first people to ask demand for a federal system of government. And the Kandians said that there must be a separate unit for the northern and eastern provinces, and one for the Kandian provinces, and another for the local regions. And Dr. Lassen, S.W.R.D. Bandaranaike had formed a political party, the Progressive political party. The main pride of this party during its short tenure was that federalism should be accepted as a principle of governance in this country. He said the Sri Lankan Tamils, the low country Sinhalese, and the Kandian Sinhalese have, for over a period of 1,000 years, retained their language and cultural and religious identities, and these must be recognized. And that excessively centralized government introduced by the British is unsuitable for the traditions of this country. This is what by later Mr. Bandaranaike came to an understanding and signed the BC Pact, and he wanted to implement it even after it was voted, but he died. And I must say that this is Chandrika for his daughter, who is the only leader who had qualities of statesmanship in post-independence Sri Lanka, wanted to implement the Pact in a revised, modified form, giving almost powers to the councils amounting to internal self-determination. It is a tragedy that people who claim to represent us at that time rejected it. Anyway, it is very difficult now in the circumstances to establish peace. There is no problem between the Sinhalese and Tamils. It is a problem created by Parliament. So it has to be resolved by Parliament by formulating a new constitution that reverts back to the traditions of the country, which persisted for 2000 years under the monarchy of harmony, coexistence, and partnership. Now it is partnership in due form, not in equal proportion, in due measure in the exercise of sovereignty. This is not difficult, but the problem is all in Parliament, not with the Sinhalese or Tamil people. Tamil people have become a bit difficult because they are not thinking individually. Of course, this is another matter. It is not your problem. It is my problem. Okay. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to address you, and I have taken 5 minutes more. Of course, I would like to speak at a forum, separate forum, other hours of this matter. Anyway, hope that you will be successful in your own way to create or to contribute again to this, to national reconciliation, without which our country cannot survive. In 2022, I know very well, we have come to a situation where we cannot go out of the home, even take the bodies, dead bodies to the cemetery. there should not be a return to that situation. People should know that. And all communities should work together for this reconciliation and lift the country from this political and man-made economic crisis. That crisis arises from corruption and disunity. Okay.
This, Honourable Vice Chancellor, and those who can be here to share the space. We're going to keep things very simple in our panel discussions. I will introduce our panelists. A good friend of mine that I've met since I've been here, Professor Shanti. We've had a lot of conversations. I'm excited to hear his conversations about this particular topic. He is from the Department of Sociology of the University of Peradeniya, Sri Lanka, and his topic will be promoting reconciliation through higher education in Sri Lanka. At this time, I'll turn the time over to Professor Shanti.
Yeah. And colleagues and professionals, it's a great privilege to have my presentation in APPRA 2024. Before starting my presentation, and also Chancellor of Univerisity, he is from Peradeniya. I know him, and also Vice Chancellor of University and colleagues. I would like to mention that the Pacific East Research Conference is a milestone in Sri Lankan peace education. This was happened because of our proposal to the President and UGC. After that, before starting reconciliation centers in other universities, Vice Chancellor took a lot of efforts to start Harmony Center here. As the outcome of Harmony Center, we are gathering and sharing, learning, peace, reconciliation, conflict studies, and so on. So, and also, we contacted the United Nations, and we had several sessions with the United Nations. I will explain some of our key project activities with UNESCO later of my presentation. Now, there are a lot of other international involvement with Sri Lanka, peace education in Sri Lanka. I just mentioned main two important events with international community. And let me, this proposal submitted 26th of 2021 to HE, the President of Sri Lanka, and he ordered UGC to establish harmony centers in all state universities at the end of 2021. So we contracted almost all the vice chancellors in 18 universities and campuses, and we established social reconciliation centers. So, and actually, I was influenced, as I mentioned yesterday. We studied together, even Bahirathy from Jaffna University. We studied, we got sort of training in this field, and we were influenced by Johan Galton and also some of other pioneers in peace research. And also I have been working in the University of Peradeniya nearly 40 years, and also I have worked as a director, social development affairs, especially in North, East and difficult areas. We introduced a lot of reconciliation programs for school students. We learn a lot of lessons from school young students. Based on those findings, we developed this proposal for university sector. And this circular, because of special circular issued by UGC, we are planning to start short-term training courses, degree programs, and also diplomas and certificate courses, postgraduate studies. We have planned a lot of teaching, learning, in a way, experimental learning. Okay, we are planning. We have orders. We have given instructions for all the institutions to start teaching peace and conflict studies, and also research. Second component under this circular, we are going to expand, develop research culture in the field of peace and reconciliation, ethnic harmony, and so on. We encourage undergraduate students to do research for their final dissertation. Postgraduate, diploma level, we are going to develop kind of research culture in Sri Lankan universities. And because we had a 30-year war and we have enough lessons to harmonize, reconcile together, work together for economic development. So, social development. And then we contacted United Nations, and we try to involve their expertise, and also now we met many times. We had a lot of partnership with UNESCO, and we have developed a special framework for peace education in Sri Lankan universities. Due to time restrictions, I will not explain all the objectives and descriptions. Recently, we had a 3-day workshop in Colombo. Almost all the directors and students from different universities attended. They are the pioneer directors in social reconciliation centers of 18 universities and campuses. So now, these are the, let me share some of the important ideas. We developed a framework for the draft framework for joint proposal impact, intercultural dialogue, unity, social cohesion and social reconciliation, fostered among university students in public university. There are outcomes, output, activity, 3 activities. Under outcome 1, there are 3 activities. I have mentioned in this table. First outcome is social reconciliation centers strength to leverage intercultural dialogue tools, exchange programs, site visits, and arts and cultural programs to enhance social cohesion and reconciliation among the university community members, including students, faculty, staff, and non-academic staff. So, to achieve this outcome, we have identified various output. Under output 1, we have defined 3 activities according to this slide show there. Output 2, student exchange program, site exposure visits, and arts and cultural programs developed and implemented through social reconciliation centers. That's the output 2. Under output 2, we have identified 4 activities. As I mentioned in my slide, there are 4 activities under output 2. Okay. I'm very happy when I attended yesterday afternoon training. We already learned a lot, and also some of the instructions already in our framework. That's therefore it's and also each university has allocated certain activities. Those universities should look after those activities to achieve the reconciliation process of Sri Lanka. Then under outcome 2, academic capacities of Sri Lankan public universities enhanced to facilitate research, knowledge sharing, and policy making on intercultural dialogue, peace, and reconciliation. That's the outcome 2. Under outcome 2, we have various activities. We have defined them. You can read it. They are available online. And also another output is university system is trained to promote academic research and knowledge, exchange on subject, intercultural dialogue, peace and reconciliation. So outcome 3, sustainable development of social reconciliation centers to solidify their presence and effective implementation of their mandate. What you emphasized yesterday is sustainability of reconciliation centers. Under that outcome, we have defined 1, 2, 3, 4 activities, right? And what we are going to achieve through these at very positive ways, as Johann Galtung defined, there are, under positive peace, there are 10 values. Okay? 10 values. I have mentioned them. Conservation centers in all the state university should devote their resources and they should commit to achieve these 10 values, to achieve positive peace. And especially students and staff developing and implementing a student exchange programs, site visit, cultural program, enhancing academic capacities, facilitate research, knowledge sharing, policy making, and so on. So now we started 2 certificate course under the help of Vice Chancellor and Director Harmony Center in University of Bologna. I think one batch already completed and second batch is they are studying now. Yeah. So we are targeting these objectives. We are trying to achieve certain objectives. Perhaps I think when we develop these activities, we can see a lot of community involvement with the harmony centers and reconciliation centers. People may have market like yesterday I saw a lot of things were selling here, self-employment, community, university academics, researchers involved together to build a harmonious Sri Lanka. Universal values under positive peace. What we should do is, we should achieve those universal values, 10 values, through our programs, activities, and also gathering like international and local gathering, conferences, workshops. We have to achieve the 10 values of positive peace. That's the message I wanted to give to this audience, and also I hope we will work as much as there are certain challenges, we will overcome them. We will devote our time, life for positive peace in Sri Lanka. Thank you very much.
Properly. Senior Lecturer on the Department of Sociology of the University of Jaffna. She will be presenting on gender, conflict, and building sustainable peace in Sri Lanka. You can join me and give a round of applause.
Because I think there was someone else who was invited, but in the absence of himself, that I was asked by the director that I agreed to come. So as Professor Nandana said, we need peace research for our postgraduate studies in Gothenburg University, Sweden. So since then, we were very much working towards peace through education and through research. In 2004, the degree program was kind of began in 2003, but since 2004, we had introduced a core course unit in our Department of Sociology at the University of Jaffna. And we have been teaching that for level 3 students at the moment as Sociology of Peace and Conflict. So before I start my topic on gender, conflict and building sustainable peace in Sri Lanka, now we live in a global village, as Marshall McLuhan says. Nation borders are blurred. We are connected, interconnected. So now before think about our micro local level peace, there are some grand narratives from the top that we are trying to work towards. Those are the Sustainable Development Goals. The UN introduced in 2015, and the fifth goal is about gender inequality and the empowerment of all women and girls. So this goal itself, the fifth goal itself, has some sort of an understanding, this gender equality. And then the second phrase is about empowering women and girls. It is not about empowering men and girls. Gender equality and empowering women and girls, so that has inherent inequity issue. So whenever we talk about gender, before I come to the major terms in my topic about gender, conflict, and building sustainable peace in Sri Lanka, we in Sri Lanka have still a narrow connotation for gender. The mainstream major on the binary aspect of static male and female. But in the West, in some other areas, it has a broader connotation. As you may know, that about the LGBTQ, lesbians, transgender, bisexual, genderqueer. So these are kind of multiple genders, they are incorporated, and also the gender itself incorporates the different diversity of sexualities. So the major motto of the Sustainable Development Goal is no one is left behind. So in Sri Lanka, we have these different genders. Some are invisible, some are institutionalized. Even different sexualities. They are not on the surface, but they are sexualities. So, but we need to recognize them and also be inclusive of those different sexualities and gender. This is my first sort of a major understanding of the concept. And when it comes to gender, now in Sri Lanka we can see sort of different studies on gender. One is kind of a gender studies, where we incorporate all those gender paradigms, connotations. Other one is a women's studies. Other one is a feminist studies. So we can see that kind of a different methodologies under the name of gender, or whatever the sex studies. So gender inequality and women's oppression are entrenched in structural forces, ideology, and institutions, both public and private, and manifests itself in inequitable and discriminatory social norms and practices, and cross-cut political, economic, cultural, and social. So we are here, maybe have an elusive and this delusion image when it comes to gender in Sri Lanka. Because statistics present something as kind of a glamour, what is the gender image of Sri Lanka. For instance, in the gender or women's studies or feminist studies, they will mention the Sri Lanka is known for the for having elected the first female president in the globe. And Sri Lanka, when we take about the sex ratio, women are about half of the population, 52%. So women are just, these two pictures itself just give kind of a good image about it. Third, if we take the kind of a literacy, female literacy, they are also quite good in Asia, 92%, quite similar to male. The third image itself. And when we look at the lifespan as a kind of one of the indicators for the development of a nation, the lifespan, where women are, they live more than men. Then another aspect, when we take the school population sex ratio and the university education, about 70% are female in enrollment as well as graduates. So these pictures somehow give kind of elusive image about the gender, especially about women in Sri Lanka. But actually we go deeper into it. When we talk about the female labor force, when we talk about the political participation, where we are just still lag behind, far away. Around 30 to 35% of female are in the labor force. Then we have moved quite a lot. And also if we take about the political participation, we can see that they are still about 5%, 5.3%. Since this conference addressed the digital transformation and artificial intelligence, now there are some two additions in the development indicators of a nation. That is the digital literacy and the computer literacy. If we take the digital literacy, we can see that's about 57 point something like female. And also if we take the computer literacy, that is also the females are quite lag behind from the male. So these are kind of things now we are looking at when we talk about the gender in the context of Sri Lanka. When it comes to the conflict, I try to take a nuance and approach and analysis to the conflict. Because of the time limitation, I did not dwell into the origination, the role of the gender in the origination of the conflict, and also not during the conflict, the role of the gender during the conflict. But I will, though I will touch upon the first two phases of the conflict, I will go dwell on the post-war or post-conflict aspect of gender. So if we look at the origination of the conflict, we could see that it is obvious that how the role of the women were involved. During the phases of the conflict, we saw that kind of a very paradigm shift. They were in the battlefront, they were in different, the kind of a total change in the social norm of gender, especially female girls. Not those. But we thought that will continue, that will persist. But now we see the reality now. But I feel, I think majority would agree that we are back to the time that we lived before with regard to the roles of women or social norm about women. Then, when we look at how the conflict is constructed by social scientists, if you look at it, we can see, if we review and analyze the historiography of our Sri Lankan conflict, can anybody say that any kind of women or women scholars who have written on the Sri Lankan conflict? Very, very minimum. But we know for sure that females, women, have different perspectives towards conflict and peace. But they are not included in decision making and some other aspect of conflict resolution or conflict transformation or peace building. If you look at the post-war context, we can see the major grand projects with regard to peace and conflict is just kind of how this transitional justice is taking place. That also in relation to gender, for instance, how these the mothers of the missing persons, they became a kind of a institutionalized, and they became a movement. So how these issues are addressed, how this gender justice is claimed and incorporated in the governmental justice, some sort of things that we talk about. But I would like to prefer more on that kind of a structural set of violence, structural mechanisms of violence that are in the micro level, which really, structural violence that can be added through the mechanism, because this, for instance, if we take the ethnic level, there are caste, religion, region, and some other aspects. That somehow they are connected with gender. This is a theory which was developed by an Afro-American called Kimberly Crenshaw. She proposed a theory intersectionality when she studied the gender in America, USA. So intersectionality says there are interlocking matrix of marginalization is taking place. For instance, I am being a minority Tamil woman first, the minority Tamil woman. I am from a Vaunia or Mulletivu, sorry, I am from Mulletivu Tamil minority woman. I am from a low caste Mulletivu minority woman. So when we study gender, we can study just only the aspect of gender. So this is the Crenshaw's proposal about the intersectionality. So we should look through, like gender is related with ethnicity here, region, caste, region, and class. Now we are in the class factor. The economic crisis in Sri Lanka has somehow given more marginalization on top of these the burdens that's been there. And also, when it when we look at this, women especially, their unpaid care work, that is not accounted in the national economy or GDP. So that is still, that policy has not been developed by contributing, and according to an IMF study, 4.4 hours women are spending on the unpaid care labor, whereas men 1.7 hours. So these are not still included in the policies. So the thing is, so since my time is very limited, what I am trying to address here is that so we have to address rather than the major project on peace and conflicts, we have to address the gender forms of structural violence, and that can be added not through the manifestation approaches to conflict, but through deeper look at the lived realities of exploitation and exclusion. There are multiple ways, like even if you take the educational space, university or school, they are inclusive in terms of their promotion, recruitment, and whatever that the bureaucratic channels have some sort of a gender barrier which are invisible. So these are kind of the micro structural violence that have to be addressed. So that is one issue. So without addressing those, the major formulaic approaches towards the transitional justice would not be a meaningful peace that can happen in Sri Lanka. So, and the last point, if we take the building a sustainable peace in Sri Lanka, there should be sort of a more equal power sharing between genders. Does that take place? Or there should be sort of a, if we take the post-war major peace and conflict, there should be a truth-telling and also kind of a post-war trauma healing process. Did that take place or does it? Well, have the customary laws been amended? We have been talking since ages about the customary law amendments. Have that been materialized? Or have the violence against women been reduced? So my last question is, have we moved far away from where we were? Thank you.
I'm based in London, but actually originally from South Korea. And I'm so glad to share my present, the part of research. It's still it's ongoing research. Anyway, hopefully you have some information. Right, I will start. I will get started. I'm going to kick it off delving into 3 challenges in this era of AI. The first one is citizenship education, especially the traditional concept of citizenship. I think you might know all of them about the citizenship, the concept, but I think the conventional concept of citizenship is quite challenging because this concept, literally, theoretically, this concept comes from norms of state sovereignty has traditionally been used to recognize people as fully human or worthy of right protection. However, look at some vulnerable groups like stateless or migrants or marginalized minority. They cannot enjoy this membership or fully humanity. The next, the second challenge, this research pay particular attention to sovereignty trap, digital sovereignty trap. I would say the digital sovereignty trap. So unlike the generative AI, sovereign AI refer to nations' capability to produce artificial intelligence. How to arm? But the notion is stopped at the moment. But this world shows the world that strong sovereign AI combined with innovative workforce can protect democracy and individual liberty. However, the U.S. and European Union are significantly concerned that authoritarian governments are using the big data, piloting social scoring system with an aim to implement social control based on big data. But this system can be posed threat to fundamental freedoms and the rule of law, including silencing the media, policing peaceful assembly, and unexpressive activity. Of course, the rise of digital technology has created a global digital ecosystem, but growing distrust between nations over data ownership or AI governance is fueling a push for digital sovereignty. So in terms of data regulation and AI governance, the EU has been a front runner in data regulation and AI governance. For instance, in 2018, the European Union established the General Data Protection Regulation. And this year, the EU also announced AI Act, so-called AIA, implemented in society. Additionally, only a few rich countries can build this ontology technology or pool of sovereign AI, which created a new digital divide. At the moment, it's not just about internet access, It's not, the connectivity issue. It's about who gets to really benefit from this technology. So this gap can cause big problem in people's lives, from jobs to education, all levels of society. So the key is to develop AI ethically, with government and companies working together to protect the people's security, and ensure human rights. That's why teaching everyone about AI literacy is becoming essential. This chart shows the key competence some OECD countries want all citizens to be prepared for AI era, including understanding the basic AI and its ethical implication and social impact, and how to use and develop AI tools. But there is challenges there. So the teachers training for citizenship educator across the world is already burdened by a lack of resources and prioritization by policymakers. So addressing this challenge, we require new pedagogical approach beyond formal professional development training. So this study explores the potential of podcasting technology to enhance the global digital literacy, digital capital. So I'm going to move on conceptual framework. So I use the concept of British citizenship that I devised in my doctoral thesis based on my data set. So simply say that these British citizenship, the idea of British citizenship acts as a bridge for understanding and solidarity between the different groups in conflict-affected society. There is four features. One is inclusive and humanistic in perspective, and the other is connectiveness. The third one is agency, and the last one is imagination. And then I adapt this concept of British citizenship and British identity to really retune the concept between the Liberia and Korea, and then it's going to be published. But I'm gonna move on this because why I devised this concept of British citizenship. So initially, my study focused more on the division system of the Korean Peninsula. I think you all already know the Korean Peninsula divided into north and south. But this territorial division is not because sovereignty division. The most significant one is called civic identity division. So in my thesis, I theorized peace-building citizenship education. And through this peace-building citizenship education, I desire to enhance both citizens, both Korean and North Korean and South Korean citizens, and enhance the peace capacity for peace building. And this is a framework, the peace building capacity creation framework. And based on this peace building capacity creation framework, then the research team, we try to identify the component of digital capital, which is the key to navigating the digital ecosystem. And then I employed a practitioner-based inquiry. Basically, this methodology is used educational professionals and creative media practitioners, especially in research about podcasting. And this methodology, this approach focus on teachers' perspective in in a plan to review cycle. So in classroom, the review component of the plan to review cycle typically include the gathering of evidence and students learning. However, since podcasts tend to be one-way forms of communication, so there is a methodology limit. So I'm going to tell about this later. So we developed a proxy indicator, so-called proxy indicator, to correct the data and also evaluate and observe. For instance, we use podcasts themselves, audio file, original audio file, and low file, shorter transcript, also team documented with our planning and implementation of podcasts, also social media channel, and collaborative reflection on the practice and monthly meeting. And why podcasts? Because podcasting is relatively low cost. Imagine if we observe, study our program, we should put more time and energy and money. And it's an international reach. It can be used by practitioners across the globe. And also there's potential to invite extended engagement, which research has indicated in the condition for effectiveness. And we use lots of AI-powered software to generate creative podcasts. And here is key highlight, the conclusion. Surprisingly, since we launched this project, in May 2022, it's over 2,000 downloads. Over 2,000. Sorry, I'm so excited. Over 2,000 downloaded our subscribers in 52 countries. And there's a top 10 country for downloading. As you can see, a lot. It's not considered global north. Global south also use this podcast. And this is my conclusion. I'm still doing this project, but this is a preliminary research. It might be a preliminary research. As I expected, the podcast is a powerful channel to transfer knowledge, especially if it can reach global north and south perspective. And this project I funded by UCL and Ateneo de Manila University in Philippines. So it's kind of a simple global partnership, successful global partnership. And also more researchers and practitioners can easily access a wide variety of research visually and promote open research. If we publish our research, it's quite long journey and it's really hard. However, if we publish our research via podcast, it's quite easy. Thanks to the AI-powered software, editing time is only 2.5 to 2 hours. It's quite cheap. And this year, we are going to identify the digital capital, the core component of digital capital based on the peace-building capacity creation model that I showed you. And hopefully, I can define and identify this digital capital. And this is a structure of this podcast. In the season 1, we focus more on human rights education, such as issue of the human rights violation during the pandemic or climate justice pedagogy. In season 2, we concentrate on citizenship education, such as the civic identity, and migration and entrepreneurship educator. And I am preparing for season 3 really thrilled by inviting a lot of scholars. The first one, this is a lineup of season 3. So Dr. Patricia Levy, she's famous scholar, digital storytelling and art-based research methodology. And Dr. Linda Evans, she's a philosopher of the University Institute of AI Ethics. Dr. Keith Martin, he and his colleague publishing social justice education. So I'm going to release this episode next week. And then Dr. Henry Zhu, he will contribute his critical theory and critical technology. So I think this podcasting technology is really powerful and useful to all the students and researchers who knows South. And I'm confident to say this is really contribute to bridge global North and global South. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.